Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 18 of the reunion of Final Fantasy VII Remake podcast. I am your host, Kai, and joining me today is the extraordinary, incomparable Vyzz. How are you doing, Vyzz?
Pretty good, pretty good. I finally managed to play some other game than Final Fantasy VII Remake for a change.
What?
Yes.
How? You traitor! You traitor!
Yeah, heresy. No, it's I've been told the Trails of Cold Steel is pretty good, and there are already 3 games out. The 4th one is due soon, I think. So I started to play this. It's pretty Japanese, very Japanese, high school, military academy stuff, and relationships and days, and kind of Persona-like in some aspects. But of course, the completely different topic, subject, and themes. But it's pretty cool so far. I like it. It's good to play something different for a change.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I haven't really been playing anything new. I'm super boring. I'm sorry, guys. I've just been playing. I was playing Dota 2 for a long time because the Battle Pass got extended, and then it got extended again. Which I think it expired October the 9th. So I was just playing that, trying to level it up while it lasted and get those like treasures and stuff because it has like cosmetics in the treasures and stuff. So now I have everything that I wanted, which is amazing. And I'm still playing it, but I'm going to take a break now and probably find something else to play. I really wanted to start playing Fall Guys, but I haven't yet. I know that everybody is kind of obsessed with that game right now. So I've heard a lot of great things, but I've got a really big backlog of games that I need to play. So I just need time to play them all.
Yeah, same. I just gave up on backlog. I just play whatever I have time for.
Yeah.
That's about it.
So what's been going on over at Cosmo Canyon Observatory?
I don't think there's been too much going on since last time. We're still working on the Aerith analysis. Part 1 should be hopefully coming out soon. Part 1 of 3, because it's such a huge analysis. Aerith is everywhere in this remake.
Yeah.
And we also started posting polls. Like this first one is best battle buddies. And since 4 is too few, there are so many more battle buddies, we decided to post a few more. The second one was about the villains, and Reno and Druid are in the release right now. And I plan to post another one tomorrow with some other pairings like Cloud Wedge or Cutty and Sweepy. And let's see how that goes. We have so many other themes or topics planned to post and ask the audience about. It's mainly about kind of eliciting initial interactions with the fan base, not just posting stuff, but also generate interaction and engagement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I loved the polls. I chose my favorite battle buddy was Cloud and Tifa.
Yeah, as many others.
I think it was the most popular one.
Yeah.
My favorite villain battle or combo was actually Rufus and Darkstar.
That's a good pick, yeah.
They did not win. No. It was Reno and Rude that won, which was I love that battle, but I did love just the dynamics of having Darkstar there was really cool. Yeah.
And what's also in the works is a Final Fantasy XVI trailer analysis. I'm practically done with the analysis itself. I still need to script everything and put it concisely together. But I still have time, because until Aerith's analysis is out, I think a few more weeks will pass until that happens. Because it takes so much time to do such a meticulous analysis and well-edited videos. So. But I prefer this than just a quick blurb, which you can record in a day and be done with it. That's not my style. But yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, well, I know that for me, I'm patiently awaiting the Aerith video. I can't wait to see that. And also the Final Fantasy 16 analysis video that you have in the works as well, because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I missed in that trailer as well. So I can't wait to see those videos.
Probably, yeah. Well, I'm not sure I can provide as much because I'm not that familiar with Final Fantasy XIV and the guys behind this game, so I don't really have something to draw from. Maybe besides other Final Fantasy titles, but should be interesting nonetheless, especially the battle scenes.
All right, guys. So the best way to support us here at the podcast is to subscribe, share, and like the podcast. It's free and it's the absolute best way to support us here. So today's episode will focus on a question from one of our amazing listeners. And the question will actually serve as a basis for our focus for our discussions for this episode. So we'll be talking about gameplay predictions for future parts of the series, like character combat, expansions on the gameplay in part 1, a little bit about how vehicles can work, how the world map could be done, battles, side quests, minigames, and that's a lot. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to cover all of this stuff today. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to read this question from our listener. And it was actually Eerie10 from our YouTube channel that wrote this question. And it's a long one. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it. So they say, I have an idea of stuff you could talk about for your next episode. You could take it down a notch from the level 5, 6, 7 theorizing and go all the way back to level 1 theorizing.
Oh,
yeah.
No,
I think this was actually posted on episode 15, I think,
Probably,
which was the third part of our spoiler cast series. And we did go kind of crazy with our theorizing. So
almost a bit too far.
Yeah. Mostly me, but yeah, I did like this idea of going back to kind of level 1 theorizing. So they say, what I mean by that is stepping away from predictions about central plot, who and what the main characters are, and concentrating a bit on some of the more mundane speculation. So they say, how will the upcoming playable characters perform in combat? What will their abilities look like under action RPG or hybrid ATB combat? How do we expect some of the Final Fantasy VII locations to look when we arrive at them in part 2? What will be the same and how will they be expanded? Which places are you guys looking most forward to seeing? What places might have side quests and what might these look like? So they give their example on their level 1 speculation. So they say, I predict that we're going to see a very big expansion of Wutai. Wutai in the original was a single medium-sized town at the end of a very large empty continent. But with the increased Wutai mentions in the dialogue of Remake Part 1, I'm expecting that Wutai in the remake will be something more like a fully formed nation state. The only real nation state in a world otherwise dominated by Shinra, even if they were laid low a bit by the last war. Instead of a single medium-sized town, the party might end up visiting multiple settlements within the Wutai nation. For instance, they might enter the country at a bustling port town or some sort, and eventually find their way over to Wuhan's ancient traditional capital, the town from the original game. We might see active warfare break out again between Wutai and Shinra, and the party might get involved in that somehow. So thank you so much to Eerie10 for that incredible question. We're actually going to break it down now. We're going to go into a little bit about, I think it's the world. So we're going to go, I'm going to let you, Vyzz, just start off. You have a lot of stuff written here, and I'm just going to chime in as we go. So.
All right, let's do this. First of all, I think a few things we already discussed last time, like in terms of locations and expansions in certain locations, but maybe we can expand a little bit because I don't think we have talked about everything. Not quite sure, but do you remember which locations we haven't covered last time, like how we envision them? I kind of feel like we didn't really talk much about Bone Village or the Coral Valley.
We didn't. Yeah, we definitely didn't.
Yeah. In the original, it was just like one screen, not really much, a tent and kind of a cave and some stuff. I'm pretty sure this would be like a pretty big, expanded upon digging site. which I'm pretty much curious to see and also to experience in terms of minigames there, like digging up stuff. And I really hope that's still there, because at least we need to dig up the lunar harp to get through the sleeping forest. That's still a thing.
Yeah.
And this reminds me, the sleeping forest is kind of an endless dungeon.
Yeah.
Like, or an endless map, because without the lunar harp. And I've seen this done in other games as well. I think it was in how was this? Rime, was it? Right. So it's kind of a 5 stages of grief inspired game. Pretty cool artwork or art style, and it's more about kind of a 3D platformer and puzzler. It's pretty good. I can only recommend it. Rime. There's also a part where it's just like an endless corridor, unless I think you have to turn back around and then do something. I don't quite remember because it's quite a while ago. But tech, I'm pretty much certain already exists, so this shouldn't be a problem. Like, just run around everywhere. Only if you like turn back, there's always the entrance behind you. But if you keep going, it's just endless. I really hope they can bring this effect across. And Coral Valley afterwards, this will be so beautiful. Like this whole underwater without water area. And like, do you remember when we first was it this the first or the second screen? I think it was the second screen. Or the first, where we are on this like elevated area with the like this spine-looking pathway, and in the far like the far back, we see the Forgotten Capital already.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to this. And this also reminds me of another part, like before we get to the Coral reactor, like after the how are they called? The rails.
Yes.
Kind of this weird amusement park rails. I don't know why they designed it this way. So like you ascend this this hill. You already see the green Mako glimmer in the distance, but you don't see what's in the distance. And if you like reach the peak, you see down this huge industrial looking complex, and the reactor in the middle of this actually pretty beautiful scenery. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this will be created even more awesome, or at least I hope so. There are so many like little areas or little, I should say, experience points in certain locations where you see something, it's a little bit foreshadowed, and then you go over it and you see what's actually behind it. I'm really looking forward to that. And with the capabilities of PS4 and especially PS5, I'm pretty sure this will be awesome. And yeah, not quite sure if it will still be the same, like Icicle Inn and snowboarding and then the Great Glacier. Also in terms of like you're on rails kinda, and then from the distance you already see this huge snow field where you maybe already see the few hotspots or like points of interest you'll visit later. I'm really digging this stuff. If you can already see where you're going in the distance, you can already tell like I have to go there and there and there, but you don't really think you actually can. And if you're there, you see, oh yeah, I can actually go there. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, I think.
I am as well. And I'm just sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking, like, my mind's going, like, it's really hard to kind of describe it unless, like, I know exactly what, like, I don't know what places, we don't know where the game, like, where part 2 is going to end. We don't know, like, so it's kind of hard to, for me anyway, to kind of say, like, I'm just going off like from part 1, so I'm thinking that it's going to be similar to that, where we're going to see more expansion through the story, and the areas, they're going to appear bigger, obviously, because they're like to scale, more to scale than before, when, you know, the camera is so high up. It's more like you're kind of like it's like a top down perspective when you're exploring. And like you said, think about like all of the incredible things that they could do with the different areas outside of Midgar. It's just like blowing my mind right now about like all of the things that they could do. I just don't know. I just don't know. We just don't know where it's going to end. We don't know like what they're going to take the time to actually like expand or grow those locations. I'm thinking that it's going to be more areas that are like more important to the central story. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that we get a lot of the same things that we have in the original Final Fantasy VII.
Same.
Like the same areas, but I think that they're gonna have to like come to a conclusion or a decision on like what are the most important places to put in there, because I don't know if they're gonna have enough time to kind of flesh like every single area out.
Yeah, I think so too. What I also thought about, even in 2017 when I was working on my very first Final Fantasy VII related video, or remake related video about where they split the story. The thing is, where I stood at that time, I think I've already talked about this in earlier episodes. Like my reasoning for Calm until the fall, meteor fall, that this is part 2, is this is one arc first and foremost.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's like it's a chase. It's not like you're in an area and go here and there and there. It's really a chase. You go from location to location to location. Oh, where's Sephiroth?
Yes.
Now we need to go there. Oh, now we need to go there. Oh, now we need to Keystone. Now we need to go to the temple. Now we need to go there. Oh, Aerith is gone to the north. We need to go there.
Exactly.
That's also what kind of makes me a little bit apprehensive about how much or how little they will expand on certain locations.
Yeah.
Because most of the locations aren't really that relevant anymore, or not more relevant than they were before. Like what I proposed last time about Mithril mines, where there you have to clear out some areas from dragons and stuff to like get the whole mining operation back on track.
Yeah.
Maybe they will introduce mining carts. Maybe there will be a mining cart minigame. I don't know. Brainstorming is so easy, but you probably just scratch 80% of what you're brainstorming about, and this will probably be what will happen in the end.
Yeah.
Maybe you also remember that they told us about how they want to expand upon the top plate, live on the plate in Midgar.
Yeah.
But the only thing we got was Jessie's parents. That's about it. And we didn't really learn much more than, oh, there is top plate. They live there. Shinra employees live there. And yeah, in the end,
that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. In hindsight, it's rather disappointing a little bit, to be frank, if it's the only one.
Yeah.
And exploring other sectors wasn't really a thing. Not at all. It's still just sectors 7, 5, and 6 in the slums. Still the same other locations. They were just expanded upon heavily, especially, let's say, sewers and the train graveyard. But still, there's not too much in there. It's just more scenes. It's more expansive. Maybe 1 or 2 bosses more. Not really more actual, like, more gameplay aspects, like a small minigame or means of travel. As I said before, a mining cart, which is, even if it's just for simple travel to go from A to B, or just to cross a crevasse, or however you pronounce it. Like things like that you have to cross somehow. Just like little things that you're not just running around and bashing enemies, that there's more to do in in those areas. This is what I wish for, but I'm pretty sure we won't get any of it.
That's like, because you were talking about like Bone Village, right? And like in the original, some of these areas were it was like such a short amount of time that you're there. You know, and they could do like amazing things with these environments if they recreate them for the next part, but I just don't see them having like the time or the ability to really just do every single one of these areas. The same thing with the Sleeping Forest. I think it's going to be similar to the original when we're going to go there for a certain thing and then we go through the forest and then you're out of there, but they won't have it completely like explorable. They will have areas in there. I think it'll be expanded a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be like this big area with like a million things to do in the Sleeping Forest. You know what I'm saying? Like I just
especially
don't
the
see
Sleeping
them.
Forest, yeah.
I know that like I'm just because you mentioned those things that like those
sure.
areas that I'm just thinking like same thing with Bone Village, you know, and Forgotten Capital. Like there were things that we did in the original. I think that it's many of these things are still going to happen. I think that they can expand on them and probably give like a few side quests in those areas.
I hope
Maybe
so, yeah.
like a boss battle in Bone Village or something. Like you said, the digging was really cool in the original. I hope they keep that. But it's a really cool environment as well. So they could potentially, I feel like they could open it up and have like a boss battle there or something. I'm not sure.
This reminds me of Final Fantasy X-2, where there was the desert area where you could dig. And
yes,
I think you were also able to dig out this optional boss, like the
yes,
I forgot how it's called. It's with the two claws.
Same, I forgot to.
Yeah.
I haven't played 10-2 in a very long time.
Yeah, same.
It's like one time is enough for 10-2.
Yeah, 100%ing it one time and then done for life.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, it's really hard to kind of predict or like you know like think about what they're going to be doing. I just don't think that these areas in particular are going to be these huge expanded areas. I think they're going to be like in the original. You go there are things that you have to do, maybe people that you talk to that are there that give you side quests, or there's some lore there, and then you're off to the next thing. But obviously we're going to talk about Wutai, which is next. But I think that like Wutai, I see getting quite a big expansion in part 2, since I feel like they kind of set that up in the first part with the conflict between Avalanche and Shinra and Wutai. Like I just feel like that's going to be one of the main focused areas. So what do you think about Wutai in part 2?
Wutai needs to be kind of more the focus in a certain extent, especially in terms of lore and in connection to Shinra, because they set up Wutai as this evil force which goes against Shinra, and we met the original, or like the old guard Avalanche, which apparently are in cahoots with Wutai and promised them all the materia in the world, blah, blah, blah. And there is so much set up, and you don't really know what you can believe and what you can't. And of course, what Shinra's talking about, you already know that they're making so many things up for the public. So to like get the okay from the people to go to war, because they love war, they love taking over the world. They kind of already did, but probably not completely. And as soon as you get going, you just want it all. That's what I get from President Shinra. It just wants it all. But since we now have Rufus in the throne, so to speak, and we already know he goes about things differently in the original, and now since he saw the whispers and has maybe doubts, maybe also got some information from them, maybe. I'll get into that maybe in another video.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say what will emerge from this, because so many things that President Shinra and Heidegger set up with Wutai could maybe just swept under the rug, because
that's true.
Rufus goes about it differently, and even more different than the original. That's kind of where my mind's at. But still, Avalanche and Wutai, nothing would have changed on their side. So maybe Wutai will be more on the offense in some cases maybe, and probably also include Fort Condor.
Yes.
Maybe it could be where we also get Yuffie, the latest.
Yeah.
In my prediction. There's so many things they can do. Like, they don't need to expand every location with side quests and huge things and mini games and everything. It would be cool, but they don't need to. But they need to is expand on the lore, expand on
exactly
cutscenes and conversations and just flavor. I think that's what's more important, and also expand on how it's presented, like as I explained earlier about perspective, what we see in the distance. What also comes to mind is Junon, like Lower Junon, where we can see this huge Upper Junon looming above, and it's so oppressive to the people living below. We don't really see that in the original. Maybe just a tiny bit in the cutscene where it zooms out. You can see Lower Junon just down there, but it's not really in the focus, so you don't really feel it. And I think they should focus on those things. Like get the feeling across, what people who live in the respective areas feel like, what the characters feel like when they're there. And just more lore and interactions and expansions in that case, because that's, I think, feasible when you compare it to gameplay. I should say gameplay expansion or gameplay additions. It's it's I don't really like to admit it, because I'd love to have mini games or little gameplay quirks and optional stuff and things to do everywhere, but it's just not feasible, I guess.
Yeah.
Unless we get 4 parts, then it might be more feasible, but I still don't think it will be as much of an expansion. Like, we should not expect more than we already got in part 1. I don't think, because if we expect more, we'll probably be disappointed, so we shouldn't place our expectations too high. But anyway, I was talking about Wutai. Oh man, so many tangents.
It's okay.
Yeah. So since Wutai will hopefully have a bit more presence, and as a better setup in Fort Condor, and when we finally get the what's it called, Tiny Bronco, and manage to visit Wutai for real, I'm not sure if there will be like a second settlement we are able to visit. Maybe more like a tiny small settlement, like in Final Fantasy 15, there are those smaller pit stops compared to the larger cities like Lestallum and Altissia and stuff. Let's say Wutai itself, like the capital, is a huge city, like a sector in part 1 for the remake, or maybe parts of Shinra HQ, like this kind of size. But before we get there, we might pass through sort of a pit stop, quote unquote, with a few houses, and we learn maybe a little bit what's up with the state of with the country of Wutai and the politics and stuff, like a kind of a foreshadowing, and we can stock up on potions or what have you. And then we finally get to Wutai, and everything that happens with the Turks, with Yuffie, maybe even more. And after we're done with the Yuffie side quests, there might be some other quests starting, or kind of a plot line starting with Shinra that runs in the background. That's not really in the focus, but runs there and kind of catches up with us from time to time. Hopefully in the last part, when we get the high wind, that there's much more to do, but I'll get to that in later then.
I do like the idea that Eerie 10 said about how there could be an expansion in Wutai where there's like a port town like close to the water, and then you get there and that's where you go first. maybe it's like a new area, but it's more expanded, but it is part of Wutai maybe, and it extends to the water, and then you have to go through there, and there's shops there. Kind of like Wall Market, like it's larger, and you have to kind of walk through all of Wall Market to get to Don Corneo's mansion, which is like it's further away, but you can see it in the distance.
I
Like I
could
kind of
see
see
that,
it
yeah.
being like that, but it's more expanded, so it's more it obviously going to be larger, but
I could see that, yeah.
I'm just looking at the world map and I'm
Mhm.
I'm seeing like so Midgar, Calm, Junon, Fort Condor, and the Chocobo Farm, and the Mithril Mine, Temple of the Ancients, like they're all on the same landmass. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I just don't see them. I don't see them allowing us to traverse like multiple continents. Sorry, like in this whole world map. I just don't see them.
That's a good point, yeah.
Like I see them having us do everything that we possibly can on the first continent or the first area of the map when we leave Midgar. And then it's like, okay, now you're taking the ship across from Junon. And then it's like, here we go, Cosmo Canyon. Then I've got like Rocket Town, Gold Saucer, and then potentially like ending it there. Like it's not all of the map. Like I just don't see them being able to allow us to travel to each of these on our own and go back and forth. Like I'm not sure what you think about that, but it's kind of like that in 15 as well. It's open world, you're exploring the world map, but then at some point like you take a boat, right? And then it's like I don't think you
It's
can
on rails,
return.
yeah. No,
Like
it's on
once you
rails.
take the boat across, like I can't remember. I haven't played it in a while. I think you might be able to go back, but I just don't think that we're going to be able to like explore everywhere we want like in the original. And just kind of, I mean, we were on rails in the original, how like, okay, you have the tiny Bronco, you can only traverse certain terrain until you get, you have a chocobo or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I just don't see it being exactly like that, and I know it's going to be different, but I just don't think that we're going to be able to travel. Like, I mean, Wutai is like the complete opposite side of the world map.
Mm. Although I think it's quite close to where we leave after Rocket Town. Like when the tiny Bronco gets shut down, we land at the coast,
Yes,
which is
yes,
pretty
it
close
is.
to
It is.
Wutai continent.
Yes, it is.
There,
Yeah.
but the thing is, there's a really good point you brought up, that if they created it the same way as it happened in the original, then we board the continent of Wutai, where there's I think it's a little bit of grass, but then it turns into stony canyon, rocky mountain like area.
Yeah.
And we go up, then Yuffie pulls her trick where she sends Shinra units at us and absconds with our materia. And then we have to traverse across the whole continent and across bridges
Exactly.
and underneath
Yes.
there. And I'm pretty sure they won't do this time because of the completely different scale. Because if my prediction of open zones comes true,
Mhm.
then it won't feel like a continent if we actually go through everything. Or they have to create it so expansive, massive that it's not really fun to run like half an hour through this whole area when you're fleeing, and if you're battling your way through, it's maybe an hour or something. I can't see that. So your suggestion with a port being our first kind of connection to Wutai or the continent of Wutai, this could work. Like we kind of swim, well, not really swim, but traverse the water with a tiny Bronco to a port town, land there, and we just can explore a little bit, and then
Yes.
just
Yes.
Yuffie wants to get out of town and go to her hometown, and just when we leave, then she can pull her trick, abscond with everything, and then we have to chase her to Wutai, which we might see in the distance, maybe not. Maybe we just have to climb a mountain first or a hill. Then we see it, huge valley where we see Wutai in the middle. Looks beautiful. We already see the Dachao statue. That would be nice. And then we descend, enter Wutai, and then everything happens the same or similarly, probably. I could see that because then we don't have to traverse the whole continent, which is mostly uninhabited anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There is a materia mine that's on that part of the continent as well.
True.
So they could have some like exploration.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
If they're gonna leave that there, you know what I mean? Like some caves or dungeons or something like that. But I totally agree with you. I can see them like expanding that, and then we don't have to traverse it, and we just take the tiny Bronco there, and then we're there, and it's like it's like a port town, and then you have to walk through that, kind of similar to Wall Market, where there's shops and there's people. You could do a bunch of side quests, flesh out the stories, and then you see the statue like far in the distance. You do end up going there, and then that could be like I was starting to think that would be the end of part 2, would be like getting to Wutai, actually, when I was just writing my notes in. Like just after looking at everything, like all of the areas on the map, on each part of the map that we actually have to go through. And then I looked up the original walkthrough with the game, and like there's so much, right? Like
there is, yeah.
And the Wutai side quest is on disc 2, the original, and there's so much stuff that we have to go through before we can even get to be able to do that. And it was just a side quest, you know, like it wasn't even a big portion of the original. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to predict. Especially, it could also happen later. But yeah. I think it should happen before Aerith leaves the party, so we can have her there. Because as soon as we leave for the Temple of the Ancients, I think the story has to pick up and no more detours. I think, because otherwise it would kind of diminish the urgency.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So after Rocket Town and before we get the how is it called again? The Keystone, right?
Yeah.
Just before we get the Keystone, we need to go through this whole Wutai thing, and I hope they manage to build the story in a way that it naturally or organically fits in to the whole storyline and doesn't feel like just a detour. Like
exactly,
we have the tiny Bronco now. Now we need just to do some Yuffie stuff, and then we return to the main story. This would be a little bit of a travesty, honestly. But on the other hand, we had chapter 11 with the ghosts, which kind of felt the same way. It's just got this specific part that lives on its own and is just inserted within, frankly,
the train graveyard. You mean?
Yeah, exactly, train graveyard. It's frankly we are in a state of urgency. We need to get to the plate or to Sector 7 to defend it, even if we don't really know if it's happening or not. But still, it kind of feels like a detour, like this little side story, side quest with the ghosts and Eligor.
Yeah, and
it shouldn't feel like that, like this. So I really hope that Shinra kind of gets a better like secondary storyline through the second part until we reach the Northern Crater. I think in the original it's not really that important. We know that they're also searching or going after Sephiroth. We meet them in the Mithril mines. We meet them, of course, in Junon and in on the boat. Later, just a brief encounter in Rocket Town. They're just always there at some point. They're there and then they disappear again. They're there, they disappear again. Also in Icicle Inn, Elena shows up and then Shinra's gone again. It's just like this, like if Team Rocket in Pokemon just shows up and goes again, shows up and goes again. It's just kind of a joke, really, if I'm being honest. It stops being a joke when we're about to be executed in Junon the second time. That's different, and with the huge materia quest, and it's more about Shinra. I hope that this will kind of transpire the same or feel the same in part 2 or 3 or however many parts there will be. Still hard to predict.
They could also expand Junon so much. Like,
yes.
so much. Like, if they're, gonna create it so that it's, like, actually this, huge city or whatever. Like, I mean, in the original, it looks large, but you don't really get to explore it, like, that much, you know what I mean? So... And then you have to go back there later, so I can see them really expanding on Junon as well.
To a certain degree, yes, but not the first time you visit, because you are there to...
Yes.
Why? Oh,
infiltrate
right. The
for
Turks.
The march.
Exactly, yeah, the Turks or
where
Elena.
You dress up as Red 13 as a
Marshmallow Barrett.
Yeah.
I was just kind of trying to remembering why we're actually going to Junon, but it's because Elena's built the beans back in the Mythril Mines. They're going to Junon because of the parade for the new president.
Exactly.
That's why we're going there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I think it's because Sephiroth is apparently there or wants to travel or traverse to the other continent. That's where we want to go. And there's not real time to loiter around too much.
Yeah.
That's also why I think they can't really linger too long in one place. We need to keep going, keep going. We only need to linger when we can't traverse or can't move forward for some reason, whatever. Like in the Mythril Mines, there was a cave in and we need to go find a way around. There are monsters or something like that. Just when there's a barrier or a something that prevents us to just keep on going straight forward. I'm not sure. I think we can't really try to think of, how should I phrase this? Like in the part 1, we had so many areas where you could just run around for a certain amount of time, like in Sector 7.
Exactly, yeah.
We had time until the next mission and we could do whatever. I don't think this will be the same until we reach the execution part in Junon later in the game.
Okay.
Because before it's just chase Sephiroth, go after them, go there,
exactly.
go there.
Yeah, that's true.
That's probably what we always need to keep in mind, and not try to make up too much about, we could do this minigame there and those side quests there. And maybe a little bit. I'll get to that later, but there are some places where there are let's say places or like opportunities for side quests and stuff.
Exactly. We haven't even talked about Cosmo Canyon yet, and I really want a Cosmo Canyon expansion. Like, I don't know what I want. I just want time, and I want a good story, like chunk of story, and I just want to spend some time there, and I don't know. I just can't wait to see what they do with Cosmo Canyon. But
there are actually three kind of sub stories or 3 aspects to Cosmo Canyon. One is, of course, the teachings of the live stream, planetology. It's also where the original Avalanche started to, or was being invented, or the inception of Avalanche happened there.
Yeah.
And we have, of course, Red 13, aka Nanaki. And I really hope he gets to shine there, like really gets to shine. And also, I'm so hoping for kind of a short backstory on Seto, not just Bugenhagen trying to tell Nanaki what happened, and then we get this camera turn or camera movement up to Seto with the tears.
Yeah,
I want to see even if it's a movie playing along, Bugenhagen explaining to Red what happened, that we actually see it. But
yes,
I think we've talked about this last time already.
Yeah, we did.
I have a
we
flashback
did,
of doing this.
yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. So yeah, and I think we could skip the side questions or start with Cosmo Canyon, because in Cosmo Canyon we are there for a little while.
Yes.
Like maybe a day or two. We need to wait until the bug is fixed. So they could sneak in a couple of side quests there. I hope so, though. Anyway.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Maybe even a minigame, like a drinking minigame in Starlit Pub or something like that. I don't know. Just something fun.
That'd be so cool.
Or a return of the darts.
Of the darts, yeah.
Yeah. Just something cool.
Even like a pinball machine. I don't know. Something.
Yeah, I was so bummed out that we couldn't play the pinball machines in
I know.
Seriously.
When we saw these screenshots, like way back when they showed the screenshots, I was like, oh my god, it's probably gonna be like an actual pinball game that you can play. Nope.
No time for that crap.
Oh well. Oh well.
Yeah, oh well.
Yeah. And you already know how mad I was that you can't actually go down.
Yeah.
I was actually really disappointed, and I expressed my disappointment about that quite a few times.
However, there is a small, tiny chance we might get to see that. And I say that because there will be a PC and maybe an Xbox Series X version of the game.
Yeah.
And
then hopefully they'll go back and fix all those textures.
First and foremost. And second, maybe insert like additional scenarios, like what happened or what Barrett and Tifa were doing after defeating Airbuster. It's what they actually planned to do, but didn't have the time. Yeah. If they have the time to expand on that, like kind of a Marco edition of the game or something, like we talked about already in a previous episode, I think. Then you play as Barrett or as Tifa. Have to do some recon or something to get to know or to find out what's going up. Or maybe one of those thugs return and Barrett beats the crap out of one of them and then finds out what Don Corneo is planning. Or that he is planning something, but on what? Which is when Tifa comes up with a plan. And then we can maybe even see how she gets the dress. And then there needs to be a scene down in their hideout where they plan this whole stuff. Yes. And then we see it. I just want this. I just want to see the hideout.
That's what I wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
that would be really cool. I mean, look at what we got for Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah,
There's so many different editions. Like they had the Royal Edition and the Windows Edition, and the Windows Edition got extra content.
Yeah, exactly.
So
especially in the last dungeon, there was so much new content.
Like if they're gonna add something, that would be really cool, but they should add it across all versions if they do.
Of course, yeah.
Like everybody has access to it, but that would be really cool, I think.
Definitely.
So what about minigames in Costa del Sol?
Yeah, exactly. Costa del Sol, I don't see lore expansions or story expansions above what we already have in the original, but I can see some minigames. Like the kids and Red 13, like kicking the ball back and forth, maybe doing something there, like just a ball aiming minigame with Red, so he has to kick back the ball with his tail and not set the ball on fire or something like that. Yeah. Just something small.
Cool. I like that.
Like the darts minigame, it's also pretty simple, actually. Or maybe a selling minigame with Yuffie, where we get the better we sell, the more gil we make, or something like that. Collecting seashells with Aerith on the sand. This could also increase affection points for certain characters, like if we actually do something with them, experience something with them, optional scenes, optional interactions. There's so much there to expand on that, on this whole affection point system. Not just doing X amount of side quests and then it's either Aerith, Barrett, or Tifa. This was, like, from a system standpoint, was pretty basic and not really only partially representative, I think. Kind of, you spend more time with that person, you get a date with that person. Well, yeah, of course, but I think it feels more rewarding when you actually try and go out of your way to do more with that person. Like, let's say, surfing with Tifa, or collect seashells with Aerith, or actually go and find them and talk to them. And you can also ignore them. And probably the same in Cosmo Canyon, where you're alone with Red and then select someone to go with you. And then this person will probably get some more points. Or if you seek out Tifa or Aerith or Barret and like prod a little bit more, talk to them a bit more, that gets also a bit more affection points. Just things like that you actually have to go out of your way to build your relationship with the characters. Not just do side quests which you have on your docket anyway. It would feel a bit more rewarding, I think. And that's how I came up with the minigames in Costa del Sol. I didn't have any idea for Barret. Maybe a volleyball or something, beach volleyball.
That would be cool.
Something like that. But as I said before, we can't expect too much. Because there's also the gold saucer, and this has to be the minigame haven, or haven, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Chocobo racing, because it's part of the story, unless they change it. I hope not.
Yeah, I love Chocobo racing. Yeah. We're like probably in the minority, though, because apparently a lot of people hated it. They hated Chocobo racing and the Chocobo breeding.
Yeah.
A lot of people did not like that. I mean, people on Twitter anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, it really depends on who you ask. But the breeding aspect was only fun when you used the console reset trick, like save and then try if it gets the chocobo you want and the reset, because otherwise it just takes too long.
It does.
And the racing was, from a gameplay standpoint, very basic. And if you didn't know about the stamina trick, it was very infuriating.
That's true.
And you didn't have that much control even if you set it to manual. So I hope they at least do it the same or better than in, what was it, Lightning Returns in Serendipity. There was also a chocobo racing minigame, and then there you had a little bit more control, especially over stamina. Like you had what was it, like pressing X repeatedly or something to accelerate, press something else to decelerate, and you had to keep your stamina bar in view, and you couldn't just race your way all through the race and something. I don't quite remember. It's something like that, where you have a bit more control, and also can switch between like the racing lanes to overtake other chocobos and prevent them from overtaking you and stuff like that. It kind of worked this way in the original, but it was very clunky. So
yeah, I see it more being like what's in 15, because they did a pretty good job with chocobo racing in 15. I actually enjoyed it.
That's true, yeah. Also, although
there was no breeding, but I did like the racing aspect. Although there was something about it that was really frustrating. I can't remember what it was.
The basic racing was just against one other person, and I
think it was the terrain. Like the controls weren't that great, because there was like they changed the terrain, and then if you like went off, it was super easy to go off the course, I think, because it was like hard to control or something. Yeah, I remember that about it. That was the frustrating part.
True. You had to keep on track to go fast, and off track you were slow, so we had to kind of jump and fly over the off track to cut through or get the shortcut in. It was possible, like if you knew the ins and outs and got the right or fed your bird the right greens beforehand to get the buffs.
Yeah.
But it was pretty aggravating, especially the obstacle course. There was one obstacle course I never beat because
I think it.
This bird just
I'm pretty sure
I
didn't. I'm pretty sure I didn't. Yeah, same. Yeah. I didn't finish it. I don't think. There was like one race I think that I just couldn't beat it. I did everything I could, and then I was so frustrated I just ended up just not doing it.
Yeah, mine is even documented on my channel. Like last episode, I think it's 60 of my Final Fantasy 15 playthrough, which nobody watches. There, at the end, it's I try to beat the obstacle courses in chocobo racing, and this one course is just hell. There's you have to jump over 3 stacks of boxes and then through a hoop. And for some reason, I kept falling down. The jump didn't really work. It was just something was really wrong there. I know. And then I just gave up and didn't play it anymore. As in the racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could do something more like 13. I think it was it 13 or 13-2? They had like it was kind of like a racetrack, like an arena type of thing, but you didn't actually, like, the characters aren't on the chocobos. It's like you choose the chocobo with the stats, and it shows you like how many races they've won to kind of give you an informed decision about like which one to choose, which you think is going to win, and then I think you place money on it.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
you or something like that, and then it's like it's like go, and then it shows them racing around a track, but you're not controlling them. It's like you're watching from the stands.
Yeah, that's. I think that's the one I tried to explain earlier. It's not from Lightning Returns. It's 13-2 in Serendipity. Yeah, I mixed those up. That's true. You had only the control in the speed. I think how fast the chocobo is going, and you had to balance it out with the stamina. I think that's the only thing you could do, and maybe change tracks. I'm not sure.
They could do something like that, but they do put the main characters on them, like or maybe just Cloud is on one, but you don't control it. You just like I don't know.
Cloud is on one, or I think Cloud is forced as the protagonist onto one.
Yes,
when you have to story-wise, like where Esther is your manager, and you have to win in order to get out of prison. But later, I hope you can just choose which character sits on top of Chocobo.
Oh, and
maybe even cool. Catchy, like without the Moogle, of course. Red 13 would kind of look silly and cool. I really hope it's possible.
Oh my gosh, that would be so ridiculous.
Especially because
I'm picturing it right now.
Yeah, it's even a thing on our Cosmo Canyon Observatory server. One of our moderators drew a Red 13 on top of a chocobo, like a really basic drawing, but it looks so awesome. And then we made an emote out of it. So we can even react with red racing on a chocobo as an emote. It's pretty cool. And this has to be a thing. Now it has to be a thing. Square Enix, please listen to this podcast and listen to my words. Do it.
I put that later as well because you also have something else written here, and I'm like, that's a great idea.
Right.
Put that
in.
I forget what it is, but we'll talk about it in a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we did talk about Cosmo Canyon already. You did write Gungaga and Rocket Town for a little, like, few lore relevant side quests as well.
Yeah.
We did talk about Cosmo Canyon.
There's not too much in other places. Yeah, I thought about North Corel. Maybe we can do a few side quests to kind of redeem Barrett a little bit. Maybe like Barrett is forced into our party, and then we do a few side quests so they like kind of make him work to accept him again, but it's still not done, and he's still not in his right mind. But it's still I'm not sure if this works story-wise because he's so down because he let his whole town down and it's burned down. He didn't do anything. He was on Shinra's side, and then they screwed him and the whole town. And this is what leads him to leave the group. And then we see everyone's being shot down, and someone tells our group, oh, it was a guy with the gun arm, which was, of course, not Barrett, but we don't know that yet. And if Barrett starts to redeem himself a little bit by doing side quests, it could diminish this effect, maybe. But it's still a nice thought nonetheless, I think. Like, he goes there and tries to amend his relationships with the people there, but doesn't really... Oh, maybe, it tries to. We do a few side quests, but it still doesn't work. Like, let's say the elder or something still isn't convinced, and then we go to Gold Sauce or something.
Yeah, maybe. It does make sense, I think. We had a little bit of that with Cloud, right, in the slums. Like, Remember when you just arrive and people are like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And then after
Yeah.
you do quite a few side quests, it's like kind of like people, you hear it when you're walking around,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
people are talking and they know who you are. And then it's like you're changing people's perspective about you and the kids as well. When you help the kids, they think you're like awesome. So it does make sense, I think, for them to like borrow that and have Barrett do something like that, and where it's like he's trying to change his like how people perceive him, kind of redeem himself. But then like not quite as much as like what happens with Cloud, I guess, and in the slums. But that's super interesting. I think that would be a really cool way to kind of show more about Barrett's story, even.
Yeah, or maybe there are a few characters who kind of still or kind of understand him and aren't as like don't heed as much vitriol against him, but are still not kind of on the fence. But they know, or they think, oh yeah, right, Barrett, you can do this for us. Maybe the others will understand more, or maybe get around. But still, since it's optional, it won't really do anything overall. But it might change.
It could change something in the future. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Exactly. It could change something in the future. I'm not sure what, but
or just short time rewards like a certain materia or like a good weapon for Barrett, which you only get when you do all 3 side quests. Let's say. Just something like that. Just something small that you feel you have accomplished something. You made up with some inhabitants there. You got something out of it gameplay-wise. But still, then after those side quests, you might go to the elder or to some other person. There's some town meeting or whatever else happens, and maybe the conversations changes a little bit if you did all of them, but the outcome is still the same, kind of. But it's I'm still on the fence about that. But I really hope they do something with North Corel and Barrett. Not just he gets there, he gets punched in the gut, and then we go through maybe buy Force Stealer and then just take the cable car up to the gold sauce.
Exactly.
There needs to be more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what else do we have here? We talked about Wutai. Yes, side quests in Wutai is a must. Definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe only after we get Yuffie back, because before we get Yuffie, everyone doesn't really like to talk to us. We can't even buy anything, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that in Wall Market. Remember when we get there, there's all these people that are like in the... Like, I explored that area and it annoyed me because it was like I knew that I would have to come back here later to talk to the people. They were in like that little alleyways that were sick. Like one of them's puking.
Oh, right.
And then one of them...
True. Yeah.
So there could be some of that where, like you said, you go and it's like people are like, get out of here, blah. And like you can't buy things at the shop or you can't do certain things.
Exactly.
Until you achieve certain... like quests are done, or you have done enough side quests where you've changed people's opinion about you, or I don't know.
Or you have to do side quests for certain people, like for the weaponsmith, you have to do side quests and then you can buy stuff.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a side quest from Godo after you rescue Yuffie. He thanks you, gives something, and then maybe he says, oh, you're so strong, maybe you can help me with this or with that. Maybe some side quests where you have to ward off Shinra at some outpost or something like that. Just cool things like that, just to enhance the experience in Wutai. Not just go there, chase after Yuffie, rescue Yuffie, done. There needs to be a little bit more, I think.
Like maybe Madame M's like sister lives there and we just go get another massage.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then we say, oh, we were at Madame M's and she was really fond with Cloud, and then let me try this too.
And then she gives you a discount.
Yeah, or let me show you that I'm better than my sister. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
think about the new characters as well. We haven't even like talked about like that as well.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're
what's
going to add new
possible, yeah.
characters to these
Oh, for
areas,
sure.
right?
Yes,
So
yes, for sure. Although there are so many NPCs in later towns, like in Cosmo Canyon, there are so many
yes, there
little
are.
also named NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much in Rocket Town, but I still hope that the old guy who
Yeah.
gives you the Yoshiyuki is still there.
Yeah.
I just hope there's a few more, like a few more memorable characters that sets it apart from the original. Not just take everything that was there. I think that's the main thing, or one of the main things in Wall Market that made it so memorable in the remake. You had Chocobo Sam, you had Madame M, you had Andrea Rodea, you had Jules in the squad center in the gym. You had Leslie Kyle. Well, hate him or love him, I don't know.
Yeah.
The people's opinions are pretty divided there, but still there are new characters, named characters that you actually have to interact with and are integrated into the story. This what sets it apart, I think, in the not just like the expanded location itself and the NPC chatter and like the additional corners.
Exactly.
It's also the NPCs.
And these characters as well. I mean, like, who knows? Who knows if we'll see them again, you know? Like, I feel like we're going to get Leslie Kyle again. We might see
Could be, yeah.
him in Wutai, you know, because Don Corneo is there.
Mhm.
So he could be on his trail or something, you know?
Right,
Anyway,
Don Corneo is also there. Yeah, right. This
I
could
see just
prove
like in my head,
interesting,
like they like show like just flashes of like maybe like somebody laughing in an alleyway or something. It's like Don Corneo's leg, just like it's like he's running or something, and we just hear his voice or something like that, where it's just gonna show. It's gonna give us little hints that he's there, and maybe Leslie Kyle ends up showing up there, and then we're doing a side quest with him. I don't know. Anyway, yeah,
Endless possibilities.
exactly.
Yeah. Then let's switch to minigames. You might remember Temple of the Ancients, which already had some kind of minigames, like this clock you had to turn to enter different rooms and areas. There's also this room where you had to chase this old ancient spirit through all those, I think, 10 entrances.
Yeah.
You went into one, emerged from another one, went into the same one, and emerged into from a third one and stuff. Like the small mini games, I think they can really go ham with this location, with all those quirks and small puzzles and mini games and all the rolling boulders where you had to duck beneath. This is also a great opportunity to expand a little bit upon that and add more smaller gameplay elements. Same for Great Glacier and Gaia's Cliff. Great Glacier had this minigame where you had to jump across, or could jump across those small ice, not really islands, but like swimming ice thingies.
Yeah.
And you could only like jump on them once or twice until they disappeared, and you had to find the right pattern through. This and in Gaia's Cliff was warming yourself up. Like, yes, rubbing yourself with your hands or something, and then getting your body heat back up again.
There's so much. I totally forgot about that. Oh my god.
Although it is, they might eliminate this, because I really hope that Holzoff gives us winter gear. That we have winter gear and an actual.
Exactly.
Oh, I just came up with this. Not just winter gear, but also climbing gear, and then we kind of like the how are they called? The grappling guns. Kind of something similar like the grappling guns we used in Chapter 15. That we have to climb up there, but maybe a little bit more elaborated, or maybe we actually have to like have our pickaxe and those how are those huge nails called? You ram into the rock face to like wrap your climbing rope around, so we can actually climb a rock
Yeah, I
face.
don't even know.
Yeah, like those huge nail thingies. Yeah, just something like that would be pretty cool to instead of just mashing square every time you are outside to get your temperature up. Something to actually climb up there would be pretty cool.
It's called a piton.
Piton, okay, never heard of that.
Or a peg. I was just gonna
I heard
call it
about
a peg.
Yeah, peg.
Yeah.
Let's say peg. Yeah, peg is good.
It would be cool if they had something where they give them like they get winter gear and then they kind of make like a joke about something like how that was a mini game in the original. But like not a mini game, but they just
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just kind of like a super meta way to be like,
yeah,
oh
exactly.
God, like thank God we have this gear and we don't have to go up there and like try to warm each other up or something like that.
Exactly.
Just be like, you know, because it's just like, what? Like why was that there in the original? You know, I know why. I know why.
Yeah.
But
it's
now they just can put a jacket on. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, they don't need to do that.
It's kind of similar to the Switch minigame in Chapter 7, like in the reactor number 5. In the original, you had to kind of try to time it with the Tifa and Barret, so that everyone pressed at the same time. And now we had to use those more convenient levers.
Yes.
And I think Tifa also makes the remarks that she's surprised that we got it this fast. Because in the original, usually it took you like 10 tries or something.
Exactly. Something like that. Like where it's just making fun of the original because it's like, why? Because they probably couldn't program it so they could wear different outfits. So they were just like, oh, well, we're going to like, obviously people might question like, oh God, like, shouldn't they be cold?
Yeah, exactly.
They're not wearing appropriate clothing, but
at least they dropped a joke about that in the original. Like I think was it Barret or Sid that like lamented about this is so cold and stuff. And I don't think it was really a technical issue because we had different outfits in Wall Market. But
yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's probably more like
but the outfits weren't separate from the actual character though. It was like embedded into the character model, like the polygons themselves.
Of course it was completely
in the originals. So how many like character models could they actually make for each clothing style? I don't know how much memory that would take, or maybe there was limitations to
that and also battles. Because in battles, if they don't wear those, it's weird.
It's weird. Then they would have to like program the battles to show that it's the new model with that outfit on. Yeah.
Also, all those cutscenes later, and then the pre-rendered cutscene when the weapons emerge, because I don't think they will have changed their gear by then.
Exactly.
All those things. So they probably had an idea, but it was too complicated, and they just left it and put in this joke. And now they can do the reverse.
They can do the reverse, exactly. That would be cool.
Definitely. Also, remember Holzoff, like the guy that picks us up after we faint in the field. I really hope.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this cool guy. I really hope that we can do maybe 1 or 2 side quests for him as like to get back the favor for him taking care of ourselves, taking care of us.
Yes. So many characters in this game.
Yeah, definitely. Too many.
Wow. I just forgot. It's a lot. Wow.
Yep. And this is only until the huge let's say one of the big climaxes in the game. But afterwards, when you get the high winds, there's so much potential. I don't think we need to get into this right now because it will be endless. But what I can see, what I kind of predict is that we have the high wind, and then it will become kind of open world. We can visit everything there is to visit. But of course, many things are probably not activated yet, and we have to maybe progress the story a little bit that this and that will become available. But still, many points or many side quests or maybe even main quests can be approached in a different order. I really hope this will be the case. It's kind of like that in the original, where you can choose between, I think the submarine and the rocket. Like I think you can do both in either order, and I think it's also possible to get the huge materia at Fort Condor and in Corel, like in either order, like first Corel and then Fort Condor. I'm not sure if you can do that with Tifa already, or if you need to top her off at Clouds first. I'm not quite sure yet, but all this whole huge materia quest is not fixed, so it can like do the one or the other first. What I do know, you can't do the submarine one and the rocket one before Cloud gets back to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I know by heart. The rest is kind of foggy right now.
I just don't see us getting the high wind until the last part.
Yeah, definitely. That's
because then it'll be like probably the end of the PS5
yes
generation,
or way into PS5. Yes.
So it'll be like they would have time to figure out the architecture of the system and really,
definitely.
You know, when it's like the end of the generation, it's like always the best looking games, and they always have like the biggest, you know, areas and stuff, and that's kind of where we are now with the PS4s. So I just see it being like the last part potentially being possible for them to do that, but how are they going to recreate all of the original parts of the map that are in part 1 and 2? If it's 4 parts, 1, 2, 3, you know what I mean? And then they have to recreate all that just for part 4, and then you can go anywhere. Anyway.
Kind of. I don't think you can visit everything, but since the previous locations are already done, they can just copy and paste it.
Exactly, yeah.
And since it's already on the same system, it's pretty easy, I think. And storage is not as much of an issue, I think.
Yeah.
Although it could be that some areas are closed off, like we can't enter Calm anymore, or maybe not the military mines or something, because it's not relevant anymore.
It gives me confidence that they can do it, though, because I was scared they weren't going to be able to do it, but they did give the flying regalia in 15, which I could not land that thing for the life of me. So I never really flew it in the air because I could never land it. So everybody would just die.
Yeah, it was extremely finicky. I
would crash it and it would be like game over. I'm like, oh my God, I just murdered my whole party.
It was aggravating.
Yeah, and 10, I liked that we had an airship, but I hated the fact that you just click where you want the destination on a map and then it just loaded it. Yeah. Like it wasn't like you had no control, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see. Yeah.
I've written down a few ideas here how I envision especially traversal and vehicles. That's also why I think part 3, or at least the last part, will start with execution at Junon, and then we get the High Wind. Then it's one game completely based on open world and high wind traversal, so they have to like create this whole system for one game, not before.
Yeah,
that makes sense. my reasoning. And with the high winds, I already talked about this with some people on our Discord server. Just imagine when you're just running around on the world map. It's already the world map. Those are the expanded zones, kind of like Final Fantasy 12, but bigger and less zones.
Yeah.
And then you know, okay, you're only in this area, but you know the world is much, much bigger. But you can't go everywhere because it doesn't really make sense anyway. Why would you want to explore every single square meter everywhere? It doesn't make sense. But when you have the high wind, you're very high up. You see the whole world map like rendered, just low resolution if you were to be close, but you're far away, so it still looks amazing. You can fly everywhere and anywhere, but you can't land everywhere, only in predetermined spots or areas.
Okay.
And if you're like, let's say you're above the Chocobo Ranch area, it says in maybe one of the corners, like top left or something, Chocobo Ranch area or something, then you know if you press the landing button, it can land there.
Right.
And then it will, like, let's say on a PS5, because of the stupidly fast loading times, you can press land, then it will kind of zoom in. It will actually land with the high wind. It will zoom in and like instantly load the actual area, and then it will land at the predefined spot where the high wind has room to land. And then you're there. It zooms down to like the exit hatch or something, where you see
that makes sense.
It goes. It opens, and Cloud and the guys or girls, whoever you're having a party, walk out, and there you can immediately run around in this area. That's how I envision it.
I'm hoping the same thing, because I'm hoping that there will be less disguising loading with cutscenes.
Exactly.
You know,
shouldn't be, because I hope they will like develop it with PS5 in mind, and only like activate those disguised loading stuff if you're playing on a PS4. But if you're playing on a PS5, it will be probably a bit different. And the thing I just proposed also works for the PS4, because if you play on a PS4 or Pro, it will not zoom down. Then it will seem if it will zoom down, but it fades to black. It loads, and then it fades in again, and you're just standing in front of the high wind, and then you can run around. It's just a loading. But in the PS5 doesn't need loading screens, so you can actually show the animation that the high wind lands. It zooms down. The whole Chocobo Ranch zooms or flies into your face, so to speak, and then you're down. And if you want to take off again, just enter the high wind. It closes, and then the camera goes up, and the high wind zooms out, and then you could just fly around again. It might take maybe a few seconds more to land and to take off compared to the original, but still pretty fast, I think. And if you press triangle or whatever button it will be in the remake to enter the cockpit, it could also kind of zoom in and around. Like the camera actually doesn't load, but the camera zooms into the cockpit, so that you.
Oh yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, and then you say I want to fly, and then it zooms out again, and you have control over the high wind. No fade in, fade out. Of course, it has to on the PS4, but on the PS5, it could just show you all the bells and whistles.
Do you think they'll give us control to fly it around?
Oh, for sure. I hope so. Yeah, because it will work this way. It's kind of like the original. You have a low resolution world map below you, a high wind. You fly around to your heart's content, and when you can land something, it will tell you, and you can press a button, and then it will land with the transition.
The fact that they did it with 15 gives me confidence that that's what we're gonna get.
It was a little bit different in 15 because it's quite similar, but you are not as high as you will be with the high wind, because the way I described it, you will be so far away. You only have to actually fully render and create all those areas you're actually able to traverse by foot. Okay. The rest can be low resolution because you're so far away with the high wind that you won't see it anyway. But you can also create some optional areas you can only reach with the high wind or chocobos. Let's say areas around the hidden materia caves. Those, for example, or enclosed islands, like islands enclosed with deep water. I also thought about how chocobos will work, because you have to run around in the respective areas or zones, so to speak. And so if you have, let's say, a mountain chocobo, you could cross mountains, but then again, you should be able to like cross maybe most of the world map, or at least within a continent, and then you'd have to create the whole continent also. So
Yes.
I'm not quite sure how they will go about that. However, I had another idea that they could create like kind of generically, or even, what's the word? When it automatically populates an area. The word escapes me right now. Like Minecraft or Terraria or Cube World or something, where it just generates the whole world. Procedural, right? Procedural generated areas. Well, like let's say the vast, or let's take Wutai continent as an example. Important is only the port, for example, like we discussed before, and Wutai itself, and the area in between, like the path between. The rest of the continent isn't really important for anything, but it could be populated and procedurally generated according to certain parameters, so that we can traverse most of it, let's say only with a buggy or only with a mountain chocobo, so that we can actually reach a manually created area, an optional area, maybe a dungeon or something with a treasure or something, but the rest is just procedurally generated and just there, so we can traverse it by chocobo, or have it connect manually created areas or zones. And that way you can still create the whole world, make most of it traversable, but only have to actually craft the important ones, and the rest can just be, it might look a bit different because it's procedurally generated, but this is also good because you are in a procedurally generated area and there is nothing. It's just for traversal, and you have to look for something that looks not procedurally generated. So we know, oh, this is now an area of interest. I need to go there. The pitfall there is that the procedurally generated areas look too different and maybe too weird. Could be. I don't know the specifics in procedural generated worlds, how well it works, because in No Man's Sky they had quite a lot of problems at first. But I think the planets, like the landscapes, are pretty nice, mostly generated. Only the animals weren't, but that's not an issue for the remake here. So that's just all the my mind dump.
Yeah.
So that you
I
and
like the high wind
listeners...
idea, and I also think that it would be cool if they did a combination of 10 and 15, so you can control it and you can fly and you can see the world below and you can land it, like you said, but also you could like fly it above the clouds or something, and then when you're above the clouds, it's kind of like you can walk around inside of it, and there's things going on, like everybody's kind of doing their own thing. You can talk to them. Maybe there's,
of course,
a shop on there. But it's kind of like you have to go above the clouds, like you have to go up, and then it's kind of like that's where you would be able to do like the walking around thing, or putting it on autopilot or something and then you can just get up, but it's still moving. Although I'm not sure if that'll be possible or not, but
like, let's say you have the pilot and you talk to the pilot, then you can either select manual, and then you have to just fly around yourself, or you can auto, and then you can on a map you can select,
that'd be cool.
Let's say Fort Condor, and then it will fly there automatically. You can either watch it from above, or
that would be so cool.
Be in or walk around inside. Like you have maybe a timer, how long it takes until we we get there, or a bar that fills, that you see, oh, it's still there, it's halfway there, so I still have time to run around. When it's there, it says, okay, we're there, then you can choose to exit or still run around if you want to.
Yeah, you could land, or you're like, okay, now I'm ready to land or whatever, and then...
Exactly, yeah. Or you could also then choose like fast travel. You can choose a location and then it actually loads there. It instantly teleports there. Like if you want to be quick, you can. But if you want to like talk to the people while you're flying there, so to mitigate load times or mitigate or eliminate the fade in, fade out stuff. I think this could be a good compromise between the three. You have the Final Fantasy X 10-2 approach with instant fast travel.
Yeah.
You have
but you're able to walk around.
Yes, exactly. You have the Final Fantasy XII approach where you can also switch or select between fast travel or actually flying there, and you can walk around on deck and inside.
Yeah,
and like only say, okay, now I want to go to my quarters and then arrive. Or actually, original version or original variation mode to manually fly around the place.
Yeah.
I love this, yeah. What I'm not quite sure how to actually think about it is a submarine. It could be kind of the same, but then again, it's not like you could fly at or swim at the distance from the bottom. I think you kind of can, but I'm not sure if you can get away with the same trick as I explained before with the high wind. So it's...
Yeah, I'm not sure how the submarine part is going to work. They might end up not allowing us to control it.
Yeah, maybe, because there is a mini game. It could be kind of similar, or what could work is you are actually in the cockpit. You see outside what happens, like if you're getting close to a wall or close to the ground, you see it kinda, and the lights will shine on closer objects more, of course, as it always does. But right next to you, you see this echo ping circle. That I'm not quite sure how it's called in English. But you see the walls. You see where walls would be if they come close, and you also see maybe stuff that's floating around, maybe other... in the minigame, you will see other vehicles, and if they get close, you actually see them on your screen, and then you can lock on. But if you're only traversing, like after you get to the submarine, you might see maybe bigger fish or something like that, if they're of any danger, so I don't know, maybe. But also emerald weapon. Maybe there's just one big dot that could appear, and then you know, emerald weapon is close. And if you actually go close to it front on, you can see it slowly emerging from the darkness and then get closer. And if you're too close, it will ram us, and then maybe the fight in some capacity starts or something. I'm really looking forward to that. I so hope they can kind of pull this off.
Yeah.
And we see it emerge from the depths, from the darkness, and see more than the silhouettes and the more details, and then it's a huge thing.
That would be awesome. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah.
All right, so we're moving on to character combat here. So I love this about what you have about Kate Shi, or Kate Sith, that I called it when I was a kid, Kate Sith.
Yeah, right, same.
Yeah, so did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Right. Yeah, I tried to come up with, say, limit breaks, ability stuff, but I thought, this is too much work. There needs to be too much thought put into it for a podcast. Maybe I'll create a video about this at some point. So I just tried to think about their main battle, like how they feel in battle and what their triangle attack would look like. So for Kate Shi, it's like, of course, the Mog is the fighter, Kate sits on top. And if you attack, it just uses its fist or so to pummel the enemy, or maybe even roll over the enemies or something, I don't know. And Kate just has to run backwards to not fall down. It could even be an ability. And if you roll around too fast, Kate falls down, and then you're stunned for maybe a few seconds until Kate has to mount the Moogle again, and then you're ready or something. It could be like a risk-reward system for an ability. And then Kechi, when he's above the mount, he can shout at the abilities. Like, abilities are usually being shouted. Let's say motivate to increase strength or something in an area.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, or to lower movement, or to even stun enemies in the area or something like that. Like the support character. And if you press triangle, you dismount.
I love
for example, and you have different abilities, or you're extremely fast, or or maybe the Moogle can then do something on his own, or roll around on his own, and Kechi can just do. But it's extremely vulnerable. Maybe the damage taken is doubled or something. Or
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, this would be really cool. Dismount and mount. Or maybe just a super AoE shout, like area of effect shout with triangle. Let's say similar to either Barrett, when he shouts and then you have maybe takes 45 seconds to reload. Or like Aerith, you have to press it, and the longer you press, the stronger the shout will be. But of course, during that time you're immobile and enemies can attack you. Kind of something like that. I'm really looking forward to Kechi's fighting style. This will be super fun, I hope. So that he's not hated anymore.
Yeah.
Because so many people, or at least I perceive it as many people don't really like him and could do without him. Some people even said, well, if they have to eject the character, just eject Kechi, and they don't make him playable anymore. And I said, what? Why? He's one of the most fun characters, at least in terms of the remake, what they could do with him.
I love the fact that you said triangle to dismount. I love that. And I think that when they're in that form, maybe like there's two separate HP pools. So there's an HP pool for being together, where it's larger. And there's more, like you said, it's like AoE damage or crowd control abilities. And then when they're separate, more high damage, but very vulnerable. Like your defense is very low, your HP pool is very low, but your attack damage is increased a lot, but you can't be in that mode for a very long time. So maybe you could do that for when they're staggered, like an enemy. If they keep the staggered gameplay element there, that would be really cool, because then you can get in and do some, I don't even know, like some nail swipes or something.
Yeah.
Like, or biting, or like, I'm just trying to think, like, and then when you're together, it's kind of like you're a tank. So you're doing a shout out, so that it's kind of like a sentinel in 13, where you would be like, where you just Barrett kind of acts as the tank in part 1, where you would attract the attention of the enemy because you have the largest HP pool, and I'm not even, like, my brain's just going here, like, trying to think, but that would be really cool. And then maybe if you could like absorb that damage, but then it will increase your attack damage when you're dismounted or something. I'm not sure about having two different characters being able to switch, because then it would kind of be like there's two. Like, I'm not sure if like one of them is just being controlled by the AI when you're separate.
The Moogle will then act on his own, probably.
Yeah, but he could be like rolling around the battlefield and stunning and doing that, and then you just kind of get in there and you're like, doing high damage, blah blah blah, whatever, but then you have to get back on because you get hit like maybe once or twice, and then you're almost dead or something.
Almost no defense and stuff, but a higher output and extreme combo, like just scratching around with his nails and paws.
Yes,
talons.
exactly. Yeah. Or biting.
Biting, or maybe even increase stagger bonus when the enemy is staggered, which is not possible otherwise and stuff. Yeah.
Or something like throwing bombs or something like.
Oh yeah, right. I like the fat chocobo, yeah, who throws around bombs and pylons and whatever.
Yeah, that I love that though. I think that would be so cool.
Yeah.
And then I said later on, I said, Square Enix, you need to, if you're listening, you need to do that.
Yeah. Just create a really, really fun character out of Kechi.
I like that element in World of Final Fantasy as well. I love that. Like, they had a stack. You could just stack on top of one another. And then you had a larger HP pool with different abilities. And then you could also unstack and have them separate. So I love that mechanic about that game. That was
pretty cool. I
thought it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Definitely. Maybe when Kechi's being hit really hard, the cat, Kechi itself, maybe topples and tumbles down. And he has to get up again first. Or you can just run around as him if you want. Like, it automatically changes into the other mode if he falls down. Then you can either press triangle to get up again, or just keep going alone. Stuff like that, yeah.
That's if he's going to be controllable in the game. Because I could also see it where they could do like a Red 13 in part 1 where he's not controllable, but he's fighting in the battle with you. Instead.
We'll get him early enough that they shouldn't make him AI only. Like, we get him in Gold Saucer, then we have the prison, then we have Gongaga, Cosmo Canyon, Nibelheim, which is what I think is the earliest cutoff point for part 2.
Yeah.
So I don't think they should make him AI only. It would feel very weird. Especially because he needs to be our friend, and that we don't suspect him of being a spy. And if he's just an AI, why is he just AI? Why is he just there, not controllable?
That's
true. Is he really with us? Is he not?
They have a lot of other characters though, so I'm just thinking, like, I don't know if they'll do that or not.
That's
I hope so.
Yeah, I just hope. I've talked about this with other people, and other people had also really great ideas about character swapping. I think other podcasts also talked about this. Like, kind of like Final Fantasy X, you assign 3 characters for battle.
Right.
But by expending, let's say, 1 or even 2 ATB bars, you can switch with another one. Yeah, like you can open your command menu, time slows down, and you can select the switch character.
Yeah, and they just run out of battle. They just run out.
Yeah, they just run out.
In 10, they just run out of the battlefield, and then the next one runs in. I like that.
The same could be possible here. The characters that are outside also gain slowly ATB, but just slowly. Like, if you were just to stand still on the battlefield, it will fill, but only slightly. And characters in the reserve, so to speak, could also increase ATB, because if you switch and they're empty, it's not that fun. That's also why I kind of think that if you swap out, the one that uses the swap empties ATB completely, and then that's why you can't just swap him in again and use another ATB. So this could probably work this way. But then you can also switch out and immediately do some another ATB attack, kind of like sort of combo, maybe, I don't know. But just switching back again then wouldn't work. Just once, because the one that has been waiting outside of the battlefield has already accumulated some ATB. But since they're empty at the start, you can't just attack a little bit and then swap in and then attack also, because then they won't have an ATB bar filled yet.
I like it in 13 how they had the paradigm system. I actually really enjoyed that system a lot, where you
pretty cool
could
too,
do presets of characters, and then it was like this is like your Ravager set, and then you had your Sentinel,
Yeah.
And then and then depending on the enemy, you had to switch between paradigms,
Yeah,
and what you're
exactly.
trying to do was like, the thing is about that game is like if you didn't actually pay attention and try to learn that system, then it was a hard game. But like
That's
I
true, yeah.
loved it. I loved it. Like I just something about it. I really
The system
enjoyed it.
itself was pretty cool too. Yeah, that's true.
But that would be cool too if they had like you got a bonus for like you could do high damage together or something. I'm not sure what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say, but
Yeah,
if you
I
switch
feel you,
between
yeah.
groups of heroes instead of like I'm gonna switch one out, like each one individually, then you would switch like presets that you have chosen for, I don't know.
Maybe as a secondary option, like switch this character or switch whole party. But this only works if you have 6 or more, of course. And then you have to kind of
Yeah,
preset
that's true.
sets, and yeah, this could prove a little bit
Yeah.
complicated. Yeah, maybe. But what I can see is something along those lines of Chrono Trigger's dual or even triple tech. So
Right.
maybe not necessarily with the people in your group, but if a character outside of your group has enough ATB, you can do both a double attack by using the
Oh,
ATB of both you and one in the reserve. And then both do an attack,
yes.
and then and then it actually switches. It's like a switch with an attack. It's not just a double attack, but it's a double attack, and then you switch to this character.
I
It's
love
not
that.
just switch, but with
That's
an
so
attack.
cool.
And maybe if you like increased the affection level high enough, you get a bonus attack for those two characters or something. Maybe I'm just brainstorming, but this could also prove pretty neat.
Yeah, kind of like how 15 was with the team up attacks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But it would be like that, but you're switching. Like you do that, but then at the end of that, it's like
it switches character. Yeah.
It switches, or the next character jumps in and three of you do an attack, and then that second one leaves, and then that person's there. Like that character is there then.
Or something like that, yeah. Or even within the active party. Like you can choose command menu, and then you have a menu dual, triple tech, or however it calls, or party attacks.
That. Yeah.
And then if two or more people have something learned, let's say Cloud and Tifa have learned something, then you can select this.
Yeah.
Both have to have at least, let's say, 1 ATB or maybe full ATB, depending on what the ability it is. And then both can execute this.
I absolutely love that. And I feel like for me, that was what was kind of missing in part 1.
Yeah,
I
true.
love the combat in part 1. I love it. It's probably the best out of all the modern Final Fantasy games, in my opinion, anyway. Because it borrows the great things from multiple battle systems from like many of the Final Fantasy games. I think it's amazing. I just feel like it would have been so cool to have like team up attacks. And I know you can control each character individually, which is what we wanted with Versus 13. We got 15, and that's not what happened until later, and they patched it in and blah, 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 whatever. But like, this is like that from the beginning, like just having that would be so cool and would bring a new element to it as well. And also having preset AI commands. So where it's like, okay, now I want more of like a medic. Like that's what the characters are doing when I'm controlling one of the characters by myself. Where the AI, like I can choose what the AI is doing while I'm issuing commands. If it's like, okay, they're healing, or I want them to focus on attack or damage, or I want them to focus on defense. Do you know what I'm saying? And I know that there were which other Final Fantasy kind of has that? I forget now.
I only know in Kingdom Hearts you can set the basic or the main like AI if they should focus more on healing, immediately heal, or go all out with offensive spells and attacks, or conserve MP, or use items, don't use items. I think in Kingdom Hearts 2 and above, you could set this for like attack a lot.
Yes, exactly.
Or not much. Use items a lot or not much. Like individual, like there were like 5 settings per character for MP consumption, item consumption, attack, defense. Like you could just switch around this. It works because you can't use them directly, Donald and Goofy. This is why I don't think it's much of a help in this, in the remakes battle system. But what I could see is like set a general AI setting, like let's say for Barret, focus on triangle attacks, like use triangle attacks a lot. They don't currently, but maybe they could incorporate that. Or focus on blocking and don't attack all the time. Or attack all the time and don't really care about blocking and taking damage, just attack to build ATB. Or go right into the enemy's face, or try to evade, or which enemy to attack, like the same as the players attacking, or not the same as the players attacking, and stuff like that. Because if you start, if you're able to set the AI to such an extent in the menus that you can also say, okay, for example, Tifa uses the fire materia, uses this ability, uses this and that, and eventually ATB attacks, so to speak, or ATB abilities, then it kind of devolves into Final Fantasy 15 or Kingdom Hearts territory, where you have one character you play and the others do whatever they want, and you don't have to switch them or don't have to issue commands. I don't think it really works out this way with the system they set up. But like basic AI, what they do now, but set some preferences, how they should attack, how they should run around the battlefield, who they should attack. That should work, because I think ATB abilities and special limit breaks you should still manually execute.
I just know that people were complaining about...
I know. Yes, I know. I saw that too.
You had to control everything for every single person. So like if somebody needed to heal, you had to heal them individually. There wasn't like, okay, so now you're switching and it's like, I want my AI, like I want the party to focus on healing. So now it's like, they'll focus on buffing. And then you can switch and be like, now I want it to be attack damage. It's kind of like how the paradigm system in 13 worked, but not really. Kind of like you would have like a medic team, and then it's like that's your set, but you have a damage dealer and 2 medics. You know, kind of like the job system. I'm not sure. Anyway.
Yeah. Although I think the problem is you can, with the materia, you can set whatever ability and magic you want, and not everything is available. So if you set, for example, Tifa use fire if the enemy is weak to fire and she doesn't have this equipped, it doesn't do anything. That's why I think they should incorporate more independence materia for auto whatever, like auto heal or auto cure.
That's true.
And provoke, and the synergy materia, which was a support materia, they should play around more with that, especially with the support materia, the blue ones. You can, for example, say like a blue one, exploit weakness, and then you can slot it or combine it with fire. And if you already have analyzed the enemy and the others know, okay, this enemy is weak to fire, then they start casting fire when they can to exploit weakness, for example. Or let's say, what else could there be? Use when low on health, or use on low health ally, or use on enemy when on low health. Like let's say a strong ability, for example, True Strike or something. Use on enemy when below 20% or something. That's a materia that says that works like this.
Yeah.
And then combine it with well, not maybe True Strike because this is inherent, but a yellow materia, maybe Death Strike, or however it's called, Death Blow. And as soon as an enemy is close to dying, Tifa runs up to this enemy and just death blows him until it's done. When there's ATB, of course. That's what I could see, because this works with the existing system. Of course, you lose with the blue materia, you lose a slot, but you have more under control, and you only use it on things you actually have on your disposal. Otherwise, you just keep having to change your settings when you also change your materia. And this could prove pretty cumbersome, I think. That's how I envision this, how it could work with existing system without breaking their vision, so to speak, their vision for gameplay. Yeah.
All right, so we did not talk about Vincent yet.
No, I tried to fly through the rest because
I know we've got still got equipment and materia, but that's okay. We can end it there.
Fine. Yeah. Now I'll go through Vincent's city real quick.
Okay.
All right. So we only managed to go through Ketchi, so let's quickly go through the rest. Vincent, I envision him being kind of similar to Barrett, also long range, of course, but more nimble. And maybe his triangle mode could be sniper, like he goes into first person, and then you can slowly walk around and turn around with the camera to snipe enemies farther away. And maybe even like each enemy has more vulnerable areas where it gets maybe double or triple damage. Let's say the head of a humanoid is triple damage, the torso is double, or maybe when he hits a limb, it could inflict a status ailment or something like that. I don't know, just some cool stuff, but it might be a bit too much. With Sid, could be because he's a dragoon. Whole triangle could be preparing a jump, and if you release triangle, he jumps as high and for as long as you charged it, kind of similar to Aerith's charge ability, Tempest. Then it just bounces down to maybe the one you had locked onto before, or maybe just in the middle of the enemies, like an AoE attack or something like that. Could work.
Yeah.
Yuffie, let's say when you normally attack, she has like a boomerang attack, where it's not really an AoE, but it has like this circular flying path. And when you use triangle, it switches to a focused attack, and then whichever enemy you're focused to or has locked onto, she like throws her shuriken in a straight line to this enemy, and then it comes back again. Like focused on one, but more damage. And less damage, but more enemies. Like maybe a little bit of more crowd control or something like that.
Oh my god, imagine like an ability where she charges it up, and then she actually just throws it out, and it just spins in front of her stationary, and it's kind of like a saw that just like cuts them up in the middle, and it's just kind of like it just stays there.
Yeah,
and then it comes back. Oh my god, that would be so cool.
Yeah, like Tifa's cheat trap, just cooler.
I can't wait to play this game. Oh my gosh, we're talking about it in my mind. I'm like, I'm seeing it in my head, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so good.
And for Red 13, I couldn't come up with much. But then I thought about his Howling Moon ability, and something like that could be like he just switches mode to triangle and he howls, and then he's kind of powered up. He's maybe faster, stronger, but has less accuracy or so. Maybe it's difficult to control him, but it's still easier to like saw chaos among the crowd. But yeah, I'm not.
That makes sense. I can see that.
Something like that. Just like Cloud is really slow, but has a longer combo and a stronger attack. But he has to already be in the enemy's face when you switch modes, but can also counter. So kind of like that, just in a different way, just to switch up Red 13's feeling in combat a little bit. And then just quickly, equipment and materia. I think materia was a little bit lackluster. We had cool materia, but there's so much potential there. So many material that were missing.
Yeah,
only
true.
2 elemental, only 1
I know. Oh
magnify,
my
and
gosh. I was like, really?
yeah,
Only 2 elemental in the whole
yeah,
game?
yeah,
I
exactly.
was like, wow. I thought I was going to have enough to have like everybody to have one.
Yes, exactly. At least 2, 1 in the weapon and 1 in the
Yes.
armor. Speaking of armor, we only
And
had at
also
the
they didn't have master materia either. So like when you
yeah,
level
yeah,
them up
true.
in the original, they have babies, right? Like a new
Yeah,
it's like a baby materia,
exactly.
which is
Yeah.
like you get rewarded for leveling it up to the
Yes,
max. Since
yes.
here it was like, okay, it just leveled up and it stayed maxed out, and I understand that, but
So balancing
at least give
purposes,
us
yeah.
more.
Yeah, definitely. This also kind of leads me to believe that we can somehow maybe take over a few things from our previous saves. Not everything, because this would completely break the balancing. But maybe take over some materia, maybe our as element-based green magic, maybe some summons, maybe the blue materia or something like that. Just kind of parts of our materia pool. If we got those, we got those. Like those we had only a limited amount of. Like wind, we only had 2 as well, or 3, 2 or 3. First strike, only 2, stuff like that. But still, if we all have all of those from the beginning, it's still probably overpowered, maybe. So it's hard to say. But
I
yeah,
feel like some of the materia though, like it could have been abilities that are unlocked in like how in 15 like you had a skill tree,
right, yeah.
and how once you unlocked it, it was like you just use it, like you just used it, like, or it was like auto, not like auto heal, but like it would be like Ignis would just kind of come up to you and heal you with something,
Right, yeah.
even though it didn't use an item in your inventory or
Yeah, exactly.
whatever. Like, and I feel like first strike and those kind of abilities could have just been like, it could have been a skill tree, you unlock it, and then you can cast it from the command menu, but it doesn't take up a materia slot.
Yeah. Well,
Or
those
how about
that's
after you max out the materia for a certain kind, it just gets added to your command menu and you don't need to equip the materia anymore because you've maxed it out?
well, this would be completely new in terms of
I know.
the original concept, but I see your point, and I agree to a certain degree that if we master it and it doesn't produce a baby, then it should kind of imbue the character with this ability. So the
But
character that
make it
leveled this
harder
one
to
up,
level up to the max then.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
make it even more like, because then it's rewarding and it's like I don't need to actually equip that materia anymore on anything because you have it and it's just added. Just like how the abilities, once you leveled up the weapon, you didn't need to, you had access to all of the ones that you unlocked for all the other weapons once they were at 100% efficiency or proficiency or
Yeah,
whatever it was.
exactly.
Kind of like that. And I know it's kind of like cheat codes, but there's some way that they could balance it. I think that they would be able to do it. I'm not sure how, but
The only problem is that materia is meant to be switched around between characters. And if you level it up on one character, only this character will have the ability, but then it's already leveled up. And then this one character has it, the other one can't get it anymore. So either you have to have, let's say if you have 6 characters and you want to have this, let's say chakra or something like that, or pray for everyone, you'd have to have pray 6 times, level it up for or with each character, and then you can do this. But still, it doesn't really make sense to equip pray if this character already has learned pray. But let's say if this character did equip it and mastered it again, it will kind of learn it again and then make it void for the others. It does pose some difficulties, in my opinion, because the weapon abilities were fixed to one character. The other character
yeah,
couldn't
that's
equip
true.
Cloud's sword. But with materia, everyone can equip it, and who learns it? And it's
Yeah, it would be
only learnable
cool if it
once.
was like once it's leveled up to the max, you could actually consume it So you have to choose who's going to consume it, and then it's gone. But they unlock.
Yes, that was my other thought as well. That it masters and it's gone. It really merges with the body of the character. It's knowledge after all. It's an energy and knowledge of the planet. So
but then it's gone. Like you can't equip it on anybody. It's just gone. It's like a consumable. But it's attached to them only.
Or you can level it up to the max, and once it's maxed, you can use it in the menu or in the material menu. You could choose to, instead of equipping it, you can choose to merge it with a character to permanently learn it or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, and then it's gone from your inventory. Like you can't just move it around and give it to somebody else.
Yeah, but then they have to make sure that we can actually create more materia or find it multiple times enough. It's at least for each character. Although, let's say if we have really like the comet materia, we only get it twice in the game, and we have to choose which two characters will permanently learn this.
But only certain ones. They could only do certain ones. So like command materia and independent materia, but no elemental is actually allowed to be consumed that way.
I have another idea. Not consumed permanently, but each character has certain like body slots. Like at the beginning in 0, then you level up a little bit, and you get 1, maybe 2 and 3. However, you gain more body materia slots. And if one is mastered, you can insert this in your body, but you can also take it out again and put it to someone else. Like it's like not just weapon and armor, but also body. Like a third. This would be pretty cool, but it only works if you have it mastered.
Yeah.
And then
all right, Square Enix, if you're listening,
do it. This could prove pretty interesting as such a system, and it doesn't interfere with the rest of the system, and it actually would work. And consumables are always the problem that it's gone, and you have to choose, and if you chose it, you have to reverse it. Maybe you can go to an NPC like Chadley, and you can like take out all the consumed materia again or something like that for a fee, but I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of slots, just one last thing. We had only 6 slots for weapons and only 4 slots for armor. We need more.
Yeah.
But maybe this will increase per game, and the last one has 8 and 8 again, hopefully.
Yeah.
And what also bothered me a little bit is that we only got small bonuses for equipment materia, like 1 or 2 strength more, one magic more, or 1 defense more. The original had usually percentage bonuses and penalties. Like for I think Bahamut 0 and Knights of the Round, you had like 15% less HP, but 15% more MP, and 10% less strength, 10% more magic attack and stuff. Because then you have to choose which ones you want to load on your character, and you can actually create a super strong magic character, but weak in physical attacks. So you have to kind of choose how to build it. And right now, it's just do I want to have those skills, or do I not? You don't really have to care much about your stats, and this is it just removes something. I hope they like bring this back. This
that would be really cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, the bigger
and then pair that with the Yoshiyuki, where your attack stat is tripled if 2 characters are down, and then you could actually put a handicap on yourself, but you boost like your attack damage by like 200% or something, but you get like very low HP. I don't know. It's just makes it more customized, so people can choose. It's like, I don't care about a handicap. Like, I want to play this game the way that I want. I want to break it. Like, I just want to play it and be like as powerful as possible. and to give people the ability to be able to do that.
Yes, that, and maybe weapons with unique effects, as you said, not just 1, 2, or 3, but multiple. Like that, each weapon may have some quirk, some just a little bit. Like maybe when HP is full, you have a slight bonus, like 10 or 12%. Well, although you have those skills within the weapons, like the upgrades,
Yes,
you have those.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can have weapons with like in the higher circles, the higher solar systems within the upgrade system.
Yes, exactly.
You can have this, like the Yoshiyuki, the per dead character.
Mm-hmm.
Your attack power is increased by 100%, and then this would have the same effect. Yeah. This works pretty well if they keep this upgrade system. They might change this up again because it wasn't as well received, I think, especially. The menu navigation was cumbersome. Like each time you went in, huge
that was
animation.
annoying.
And you couldn't switch characters when you were inside, and also when you had just one solar system selected and wanted to select a specific or just upgrade a specific one inside, you had to just press up and down, and then you landed on any of those. Then you had to just scroll through until you had the same. I think it would have been better if they had kept the skill list open.
Yeah.
And additional to the cursor within the solar system, the cursor on this list, you could actually just go through and know where you were and stuff. Like just more convenience.
That.
Yeah, more convenience.
Even as well, like optioned when you're upgrading your weapons as well. If maybe you could choose like you know how they have like auto equip where it's like they're gonna equip the best of what's for your character, so you don't really need to think about it. I'm thinking of like new players. They could do that with the weapon upgrade system as well, where it's like I want to focus on defense, or I want to focus.
They do have this
for the weapon upgrades. I didn't think they did that.
You can select focus on attack, balanced, and defense, I think. Yeah.
I did not know. I did not use it. I thought it was just for the equipment and the materia slots.
I see. No, it was it's actually for the the SP distribution. I think it's
because I was just upgrading I immediately unlocked the materia slots.
Yeah, same.
That's usually what I did first before anything else. And then I was like, I was left to kind of choose between, well, do I want more HP or do I want more attack? Or do I want...
Same, yeah.
And I just kind of unlocked one after the other closer to the end of the game because I was just unlocking things that I hadn't upgraded yet that I was kind of waiting for. Yeah.
Yeah. But you can choose this for each weapon. You're on one weapon, and then you I think press triangle. You can select between offense, balance, defense. I think it's a little bit different per weapon, maybe. But it's usually kind of the same, those three options. And then whenever you enter the menu, it distributes all SP you have. And then if you learn new stuff, it will actually tell you, like skills learned or something like that. Kind of like when a material levels up in battle, you see it above a character, like material leveled up or something. Same happens when you enter the menu and you have SP to distribute. I've seen other players or Let's Players do this.
I also, something very simple, I just wanted the equipment to show on the character. And I know this is something really small, but the weapons did change. But like, if I'm equipping a bangle, it looks so beautiful in the game. Like, I want to see it on my character. Like, I want to see the scarf. I want to see... I know it's ridiculous, but I feel like they can do it. Like,
especially the circlet. Imagine
there are games out there that are like open world games that are like crazy big for PS4 that they have this. They have that.
Yeah. I think it's for aesthetic purposes because a circlet, this golden tiara thing on Barrett, for example, would just look ridiculous. but most of them would look pretty cool.
That's true.
Yeah, a few would look weird, but now the headband would also kind of feel weird on most. The boots too, like the boots that prevent slow and stop, I think, because it would interfere with the outfits. The bangles would work, but the accessories, I think
I
the accessories
understand, but it doesn't make sense that you're buying these things or you're picking them up in the world and they're just, okay, I'm equipping it, but where is it?
Yeah,
it doesn't
true to a certain
show.
extent,
I know
yeah.
that was the way it was in the original, but I just feel like there's something they could do, whether it's like, I don't know what, they could just show it on your character somehow. Maybe they don't wear it. Maybe it's like a badge, or it's like it's a little pin on your jacket or something where it's like,
well, they would still,
it's a tiara, but it's on your jacket. I don't know. I'm just trying to think so it doesn't look ridiculous where Barrett's wearing like a tiara.
Yeah.
But I mean, who cares? Barrett can wear whatever he wants. I'm okay with him wearing a tiara. Like, who cares?
Other
like,
games,
maybe that's what this game needs. Maybe it just needs to go there. Maybe that's what it needs.
Yeah.
It needs to just be wacky and just, you know what?
Yes,
okay, Barrett's wearing a tiara. Who cares?
Yeah. But there should be an option to turn it off. Like for people who really don't like it, just turn off visible accessories, turn off visible bangles. Weapons, no, weapons is this needs to be, because otherwise they would conjure their weapons out of thin air like Noctis and the gang. This is not Final Fantasy, so the weapons need to be there, but the equipment should be like visible by choice, by option. Like maybe disabled by default, and then there's a tutorial somewhere. If you want to make them visible, go to the options or something like that. I don't know. And if you want to make it wacky, you can just show this stupid tiara on Barrett and the boots on Aerith and whatever, or on Red.
Yeah, exactly. They could find a way to do it, I think.
Yes. Do it, Square, please.
All right, so did you want to just end there? Do you want to talk about 16 a little bit, or no?
I think so. I don't think I have anything more of value to say right now, unless you have something.
I also thought that they might borrow or be inspired by some of the gameplay elements from 16 that's not even out yet for this game. I'm not saying like the battle, like things, just some things in the battle system, like they did borrow from other games for the first part of the remake. So I was kind of thinking that they might, maybe they could explore doing that. You know how they have like the stagger, which is more like 13, and the ATB is more like the original 7, and then but they also have where they're running around the battlefields as well, which is more like 12. So I'm just thinking, I don't know, I was just thinking maybe the summon type thing that we know about 16, how it's more like it's embedded in the attack of the character. Maybe they might,
right, this is
like,
cool
it's like
feature,
you can imbue your weapon with the power of the summon, but not quite as much as 16, but maybe they might be inspired to do something like that.
Maybe for part 3, because I think part 2 is most likely planned through everything. They are already in full development as far as I know. At least that's how I understood it, and in full development, like actually producing the whole world and assets and everything. And for that you have to have everything kind of planned out already, because if you plan stuff later and change things later, you'll lose work and have to redo many things. So maybe for part 3 they could incorporate a few things that might work and that have worked in Final Fantasy 16 and were well received. This could work, yeah, sure, why not? Maybe 16's battle system or other systems might have been inspired by the remake as well, or other Final Fantasies, especially 14, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, so quickly before we go, just to mention Final Fantasy 16, apparently it's further ahead in development than any of us thought. So it looks like Square Enix posted a job on their website, and in the description, it said that I think the scenario development had been completed. And then there was also an article that was translated by the incredible Atai Kimochi on Twitter. And she also kind of reiterated the same thing there that Yoshi P had said as well. So when do you think we're going to get this game? I still think that it's going to be a 2022. I think the earliest we're going to see it, in my opinion. And then I think we're going to get part 2 of the remake the year after that. So 2023, but the end of 2023, I think.
I might be a little bit more optimistic. I can see 16 in a similar time frame, because you usually with Square Enix and probably other development studios as well, you need to think in fiscal years, and Square Enix fiscal year goes from April to March.
Right.
So each big release needs to be to happen in one fiscal year, not 2 in one fiscal year. So theoretically,
exactly.
Final Fantasy 16 could release early 2022, and the second part of the remake at the end of 2022, theoretically, because it's in a different fiscal year. But we also have to consider marketing, how early they want to start marketing. They need to start marketing after the previous big game is out and already has been talked about, so that this doesn't overshadow each other. Like, let's say Final Fantasy 16 is this huge success, and then the marketing for the remake part 2 starts, and then those overlap.
Yeah.
Probably also similar target audience, and this doesn't really work out that well, I think. It worked well for Kingdom Hearts 3 and the remake part 1, because Kingdom Hearts 3, I think, released January 2019. And then on May 9th, same year, marketing for the 7 remake started up, like with this teaser trailer, and then E3 a month later, and then it just ramped up month after month. And that gave both titles enough room to breathe. And similar things should be done, I think, for 16 and remake part 2. So I think about a year apart is good, release-wise. So the earliest I can see 16 release is in Q4 next year, so October, November, December next year. The earliest, but probably, as you said, at the beginning of 2022, like the last quarter of the fiscal year.
That's what I think as well.
Yeah.
Because like with the PS5 coming out and the exclusivity of part 1 expiring with PlayStation, which it expires in April, right? So
yes, exactly.
I just feel like they're going to be marketing part 1 of the remake after, like, before that, to make sure that people know, hey, like, it's coming to Xbox, it's coming to PC.
Exactly.
And they're going to go hard with promotion for that for a while, I think, before we're even going to get anything about 16, any kind of promo for 16, because they don't want to
could work
have them colliding, I think. And then I think that we're going to get, like, after that's all done and it's been a while, I think we're going to get, then we'll see some marketing for 16 starting. But I think, like you said, I think you're right in saying that it's like early 2022, and I think part 2 will probably be
a year later, then.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like it's going to be late 2023. I don't feel like it's going to be early 2023.
It really depends. It depends on how much is in the next part, as we said in the last or the one before podcast, one before. If they do create 4 parts, like a little bit shorter parts and more often, so to speak, then at most 3 years.
Yeah.
But if it's only 3 parts, so part 2 is pretty chunky, then it's could be 3.5 years or even a bit more. Yeah, I could see that. It really depends.
I just don't see it being close to them promoting the exclusivity expiring, because people would be confused. So I just don't see it anytime soon. I'm hopeful that it'll be earlier than late 2023, sure. But I mean,
it's also possible that they kind of combine marketing for Remake Part 2 with the PC version or Xbox version of Part 1. Like kind of, oh, look, we have this. And within the next half year or so, or...
that's true.
Or, I don't know, 8 or 9 months.
Imagine if we get a trailer or something.
Yeah, exactly.
People will lose their minds.
Marketing starts for the PC version, and like it's the Marco edition, which has this, and this. And if you finish the game, you get treated with a secret movie of Part 2 or something like that. I don't know.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, and then people need to get this, need to buy it. Of course, most of the people will just
put it online,
watch it on YouTube, put it online, watch it in YouTube. Of course,
yeah.
As always. But something like that could also work. Kind of a pre-marketing for Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that people get to know Part 1 again. Maybe newcomers play this then first. Like, Part 2 is coming soon, but we have Part 1, the better version here first. Also for those who only have a PS5 and no PS4, can play Part 1 and 2. Or PC.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a PS5... update for this game too,
a
PS5 release, because look what they did with Spider-Man, right? With the remastered Spider-Man or whatever. I feel like we are going to get like a PS5 version that's going to be updated. And it'll probably have all the texture issues fixed, and it'll probably be like the PC version. You're going to get that with the PS5.
Yeah, I just hope they don't pull the same thing with Miles Morales. Where
where they remodel the face.
Not only that, but also the remastered version you can only get when buying it together with Miles Morales and not separate. And this is just so weird.
No, I don't see that. It'll probably just be a separate SKU though. Like it'll probably be like you have to pay like $70 like a full-fledged game again, but it's PS5 and it's updated.
Although they did the same with let's say Uncharted and the Last of Us and other games which were remastered for the PS4 full price.
Imagine they remodel like Tifa's face, how many people would freak out like they did with Spider-Man.
No, please no.
Oh my gosh, imagine. People would lose their minds.
They need to.
No, I don't think so either, but it's just funny that I just find that so weird that they even felt like they had to go back and change his face. And like, it's not even remotely close to being the same face. It's a completely different face.
Yeah, it's a completely different person. It's like
what?
Like two different actors.
Anyway.
Yeah. Let's just hope Square Enix doesn't pull a similar atrocity.
Anyway, it's been great talking to you today about this game and, all of our thoughts and opinions about the different game mechanics and everything with Part 2. So if you guys have any questions for us, you can always send an email to us at the podcast. It's thereunionpodcast@gmail.com. You could also join our Discord server. So we write the Discord server link in the description of all the episodes that we post on YouTube and also on Apple Podcasts and wherever else you listen to your podcasts. So if you click that link, it'll automatically pop up and ask you to add our Discord server, and you can write your questions in the suggested topics or question channels. All right, so we do have a Twitter account as well, and it's @reunion_podcast. Our Facebook is @Reunion Podcast. We do have a YouTube channel, and we post our podcast episodes to our YouTube channel as well. We do have an Instagram account. It's @TheReunion Podcast. And Vyzz, do you want to drop your socials for Cosmo Canyon Observatory?
For sure. It's Cosmo Canyon Observatory on YouTube, of course. Then on Twitter, it's CC_observatory. And Discord, the same name, Cosmo Canyon Observatory. And in each video, there is a direct link to our Discord server for the invite. And you can find us there and then join and talk about whatever you please. It's a big server. We have so many channels for everything you can think of. It's pretty fun. So we welcome all newcomers there.
Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out Vyzz's content yet, you really should get on that. I mean, what else are you doing? Come on, right? All right, guys. So this is Kai. I'm signing off.
Yeah. Stay safe and take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.